questions. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got a few other people signed up, but we usually take the first 5 minutes to meet and greet and give people a chance to get their technology working. So we're going to go ahead and officially start. So my name is Wade Yarber, and I'll be the guide for this iPhone Basics class. I want to thank you for joining the class. Before we actually get into the agenda, we've got a few housekeeping issues to go over. First, the session is being recorded. That is primarily for internal quality control purposes, but any participant can request a copy of that recording, and I'll show you how to do that at the end of class. Also, there's no marketing or other financial relationships between GetSetup and Apple. We are purely trainers, and all of our revenue comes from our training activities. I will be muting during the class, especially if we start picking up any background noise. I'm going to leave us unmuted for now, but usually things happen, so I will be muting. So again, make sure that you know how to unmute. And when you have a question, just be sure to unmute and ask your question. And you don't need to raise your hand or anything because my pictures are on the other side, so sometimes I don't see if someone's raised their hand. Just unmute and go ahead and ask your question. In case you're having trouble with your microphone, I'm going to, oops. Lost it there, bring it back, there we go. I'm gonna bring down a copy of the chat. In case your microphone is not working, you can put your questions and comments in the chat, but if your microphone's working, please just go ahead and ask your question verbally so everyone else can hear it, and I will definitely hear it. I will also monitor the chat if you're having trouble. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First, before we do, is there anyone that can't see my phone over here, my entire phone? Sometimes there's pictures in the way. Everybody good? All right, great. So let's get started. In terms of the agenda, by the end of the session, you'll know how to find information about your phone and your operating system. You'll understand several ways to silence your phone's ringer, always a good thing. You'll know how to navigate to and use the various screens on the phone and be able to manage apps and widgets. And finally, you'll know what the app library is and how to use it. A lot of stuff to cover, so we're going to jump in and get started. I'm going to mention there are 3 other related classes. There's one class on exploring your phone's app store. So we won't be covering anything regarding how to use the app store. There's another whole class on that. There's a class on staying safe on your iPhone/iPad. It covers all the security and confidentiality issues, so we won't cover those in this class. And then there's another class, iPhone Advanced, that really picks up where this class leaves off. So there may be some things that I'll mention are covered in one of these other 3 classes, and we'll skip over those for this class. A lot more about the iPhone we can cover in one class. Okay, so first off, let's get to know about our phone, what model we've got, and what operating system we're on. First, you need to know where the settings app is. It looks like this. Everybody can see where I'm pointing. I'm going to move this over just a tad so my phone's a little bit more in the center of the screen. But it's this app here. So go ahead and click on that. Yours is probably not down here where mine is. It's up here in your home screen somewhere. But find that, go ahead and touch that. And from here, we're going to go down to General, which is just a little ways down, right here. So touch General, and then touch About at the top of the screen. Anybody's not to this screen yet? Let me tell you about, so this is all the information about your phone. This is a good information to know and a good to be able to get back here. You may be on the phone with Apple support or someone else, your cell phone provider, and they may ask you what model number do you have or some of this information. So this is your phone's name. It's typically just iPhone unless you change it. You can change it, but not much need to usually. For this class, the 2 most important pieces of information are the software version. Mine is on 14.4. There's a lot of features that came in with 14.0. So if you're Does anyone have a software version that's 13 dot something or less? Okay, that's good. Because there's several things I'll show you only work if you have 14. It doesn't matter if you're on 14.0 or 14.4 or something in between. There's also some things that will vary depending on which model phone you've got. I've got an iPhone 8. Yours will tell you what yours is. 8 is kind of the break point. Some things work one way if you've got an 8 or older. It works differently if you got something newer than an 8. So I will call those out. So just make note of which model you've got and which software version you're on. We don't need this for today, but it's good to know or be able to find what your model number is. And this is even the actual serial number that your phone is in case it gets lost or you need that serial number. You can jot that down on a piece of paper and stick it in a drawer somewhere to keep it safe. If everybody's good with that screen, we're going to just touch the general up here in the upper left and go back one level and come down one row. And we're going to go into software update. If you're current on your updates, yours will look like mine. It says iOS 14.4, your software is up to date. If you don't have 14.4, you'll have a screen that looks something like this, where it will say that there's an upgrade that you can apply, and there's a download and install option here. Do not do that during class today. Lots of times when you do an upload, an upgrade, it will reboot your phone one or more times, so you'll lose your phone for the class. Best time to do this is at night. When you're getting ready to go to bed, plug in your phone to the charger, make sure you're connected to Wi-Fi, and then do the download and install. Where we want to go to is automatic updates. If you're like mine, it's up at the top. If you've got an upgrade waiting, it's down at the bottom. Let's click that one. It'll take you to a screen that looks like this. This is how you can have Apple automatically install these updates. You don't have to worry about it. So if you flip both of those flags over to green, Apple will automatically download and install new updates. Doesn't always happen immediately, so you may see this, there's an update available even though you've set this. Sometimes it takes a few days for Apple to get you upgraded, but it will go ahead and upgrade eventually. If you want to go ahead and get it, you can always click the download and install and do it when you want to do it. Questions about either one of those? Okay, great. If not, we're going to go on to the next topic where we start talking about ringers. One of the big problems with cell phones is the ringer goes off at inopportune times. You're in a church service, you're in a meeting, you're in a GetSetup class. And so we're going to talk about several ways to deal with that. There's a switch on your phone that you may not have ever noticed. It's in the upper left as you're looking at your phone where I'm moving my cursor. And for most phones, it's recessed a little bit. It's like a little toggle switch in there. You have to stick a fingernail in there to flip it up and down. That's your ringer on and off volume. So you can flip that switch to turn the ringer off on your phone when you're going into that meeting. When you come back out after the meeting, you can flip it back up. One way to control your phone's ringer. I think there's a better way, but that's one way. I also want to point that one out because this has happened to me twice. All of a sudden I was getting calls, but my phone was not ringing. Actually, I kept missing calls and I couldn't figure out why. Figured out that my phone wasn't ringing. This switch had gotten bumped by accident in my pocket somehow. So if your phone stops ringing when calls are coming in, there's a reasonably good chance that's what's happened. This has gotten bumped in your pocket or purse. Flip that switch the other direction and that'll probably fix the problem. If you haven't done something to keep your phone from ringing before the meeting, when your phone starts to ring, just push one of these volume buttons. Either one, volume up or volume down, doesn't matter. It will stop it from ringing immediately. So if you forgot to turn your ringer off, all you have to do is grab your phone and push that button. To the person calling you, they'll go ahead and hear it ring and then they'll leave a voicemail. So you can get that voicemail from the person in terms of why they were calling you, but it doesn't disrupt the meeting and you don't hang up on the person. So that's the second way to deal with your phone going off at the wrong time. The third thing we're going to look at is another way to deal with your phone ringer. To me, I think this is the best way because it has more options. And this is a setting that's called Do Not Disturb. And we're going to go back into our settings again. So I'm going to touch that setting app again. And Do Not Disturb is, if you start from the top, it's just a little ways down. It's in the second set of settings here. Purple background with the white quarter moon. Touch Do Not Disturb. There are a lot of settings in here. We're not going to go over all of them. So just to warn you, there's 3 that we're going to talk about today. In that other class, we'll talk about some other settings and other ways to control Do Not Disturb. But there's 3 that really control what most people want to do with this. So those are the ones we're going to focus on today. This is the main on-off switch. So mine is now in Do Not Disturb mode, which means phone calls won't come through during class today. After class, I could touch that and turn it off so that I would start getting calls and texts again. Of course, the text will still come through. It just stops that ding that you get every time you get a text. So that's one way to turn it on and off. I'll show you another easier way to turn it on and off. What I like about it is you can also schedule Do Not Disturb. I've got mine set up for nights. So starting at 10 o'clock at night, it goes into Do Not Disturb mode, stays there till 7 o'clock the next morning. You can change the times. So that way I can have my phone on the charger beside the bed and not have to worry about telemarketers or people calling me in the middle of the night. If you are expecting a call late in the night for some reason, someone's calling or someone's sick and you want to be able to take that call, just touch here and turn it off. That disables that scheduled Do Not Disturb. When things are back to normal, you can just touch it again, turn it back on, and it will remember what the settings were, put it back like it was. So I really like that feature. The last feature is down a little ways further, and it's called repeated calls. Again, this is something I like about Do Not Disturb versus using the switch on the side. If you turn this on, if a person calls you and then it goes to voicemail and then they call back within a minute or two, that usually means that they think it's really important. You may not agree when you talk to them, but they think it's important if they're calling back that fast. What this setting does, it says that if a second call comes in from the same person within 3 minutes, the second call will go through. So that takes care of those people that thinks there's emergency. And you can also use this with your family and friends. You can let them know that if they call you and it's really important and it goes to voicemail, leave a voicemail, but then call right back. And because my phone may be on Do Not Disturb mode, and if it is, that second call will come through if it's really important. So that's a way that they can get around Do Not Disturb. Questions on that one, anybody? And if you have questions, just unmute.
Wade, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, well, I put it in the chat, but since you asked for questions, maybe I missed it. When you are on Do Not Call, can callers still leave a phone message or a text if they're texting you that you can
Yes.
get later?
Both still work. So from the caller side, they'll just hear it ring 5 times and go to voicemail.
Okay.
So they don't know that it's on Do Not Disturb. And for a text, the text will still come through. You just won't get that ding telling you there's a text.
Great.
So they can still text. It's just turning off the ding and the ringer.
On my side.
On your side, yes.
Okay, thanks so much.
Sure. No other questions? We will move on. Oh, we're going to talk about some of the navigation within the phone and the different screens on the phone. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because this is probably things a lot of this you may already be aware of. But again, if it's something go too fast or if you have a question about it, please unmute and ask a question. We're going to start with this top bar, which is called the status bar. Ignore this thing that says let's view at the top. That's not part of my phone. That's a app that I use so you can see my phone on my screen. So this is really the first part of the screen, and it tells you whether your cell is turned on and how strong the signal is. So VZW means Verizon Wireless. It's my carrier. If you use AT&T, it'll probably say ATT there. It will tell you if your Wi-Fi is connected. Before you install that update, be sure this Wi-Fi is showing that you know you're connected to Wi-Fi. And the third important one is over here, and that's your battery remaining life. So you know how much charge you've got left on your battery. This is called the home screen. It's actually home screens. There's more than one. As you probably know, you can scroll through and get to multiple screens. There's a little indicator at the bottom that tells you which screen you're on. So you can tell with mine, I've got 4 screens and I'm on the 3rd one. You'll see that that moves when I move from screen to screen. Just sort of helps you keep track of where you are. I think with 14.4, I know you can have 6 home screens and maybe more. It adds more as you need them. And then finally, this is called the dock. And this is where you put apps that you use the most, because those don't go away when you're going screen to screen. These stay here all the time. By default, I think it has your phone, your browser, web browser, and the iMessage texting app. I put settings down here because I use settings a lot teaching these classes, so I want that one handy wherever I am. I'll show you later how to add things to the dock or take something out of the dock, as well as how to move apps around on your phone. The next 2 screens you can't see, but they're there.
Wayne,
Yes.
a question on your battery life.
Uh-huh.
How do you put the percent in next to your battery life?
Let me there is a battery setting here. Yeah, right there. Battery percentage.
Okay.
Turn that on and it'll show the percentage.
Thank you.
Sure. I think that's where it is. Try that. I think that'll work. Okay, the next thing we want to look at is called the Notification Center. You've probably seen notifications pop up on your screen. If you put your finger up in the upper left part above the top of the screen, so like where this Let's View is on my phone, and pull down, if you look at my phone on the screen, you'll see I'm pulling down a screen that says Notification Center. That is the Notification Center. So when you see notifications like this probably pop up on your screen and disappear, this is where they go. It's good to check your notification center periodically, especially if you haven't had your phone with you. Maybe it's been on the charger for an hour, or you just left it somewhere and you were outside working or doing something where you didn't have your phone with you. When you get back, it's not a bad idea to check this to see if you got a call or something else came through from one of the apps while you were not using your phone. You can touch any of these. So if I wanted to go to my calendar and check on this meeting that just started, I can touch here and it'll take me to my calendar. If I don't need to deal with any of these, I can click this X. When I do that, it'll change to the word clear. And if I tap clear, it'll take care off the older ones and just leave the most recent 1 or 2. So you may go in there sometime and there's 8 or 10 of them if you haven't checked it in a long time. You can clear off all the old ones and just have the newest one. And you'll notice the newest one is telling me that I have Do Not Disturb turned on. So if you turn it on and forget to turn it off, whenever you come to the notifications center, it will remind you Do Not Disturb is enabled in case you forgot, so you can go in and turn it off. When you're done, you can either just take your finger and swipe it up and swipe it off the top, or just touch the home button and that will make it go away as well. The other screen is called the Control Center. This one's probably even more important, or more useful anyway. This is one that works differently depending on your phone. If you've got an iPhone 8 or older like I do, I'm going to swipe up from the bottom, same swiping motion, but pulling up from the bottom instead of pulling down. If you have a newer phone than mine, Then you want to swipe down from the top right. So top right is control center, top left is notification center. So either way, you should end up with something that looks fairly close to what I've got here. What this is, these are shortcuts to things normally you would have to go to the settings to do. For instance, if you need to put your phone in airplane mode, you can just swipe up or down and touch the airplane there, and it puts your phone in airplane mode automatically. You can touch it again to turn it off. You can tap on any of these to turn your Wi-Fi on or off, your Bluetooth on or off. This is do not disturb. I told you there's an easier way to turn that on. What I normally do if I want to turn it on, I just swipe up and then touch that icon, the little quarter moon icon, and that turns it on or off. If you look at the top part of my screen here, when I touch it, it'll tell you what it's done. Sometimes I can't remember, does black mean it's on or off? If you touch it, it's going to say do not disturb is on until tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. So I know it is enabled right now. There's some other settings here. This is the ones you use the most. Probably this controls the brightness of the screen. So if you need to adjust the brightness, you can make it brighter or dimmer, depending on how bright it is outside or in the room where you are. And then these are, I call them tools. Apple calls them controls, but these are the tools, the apps that I use the most. For instance, I got my flashlight, my calculator, a timer, a magnifying glass, an audio recorder, a notepad, and my camera. So if I need to use my calculator, in the past, I would be flipping around looking for my calculator. Now from any screen, wherever I am, I just flip up and touch my calculator, and there it is. These are very easy to get to. Yours probably doesn't look like mine. You can configure which of these tools are on your control center. Let me show you how to do that. So you can either, again, pull this one down to get rid of it or just touch the home screen. Either one works. And we're going back into settings. I'll start at the top just so you can follow me, but scroll down just a little ways, and it's right here, Control Center. If you touch that, leave this green. I think it's green by default. This just says that it'll work if you're in an app or on your home screen. That's the way you want it to work. Here's the controls that are currently available on my phone. If I want to take one of these off, like so let's say I decide I don't want to use my camera anymore in my control center, I'll just use the app. I touch the little red circle, the remove button pops up. I touch remove. It doesn't delete that app, it just moves it down to this bottom section. Bottom section has all the tools that I could move up to the top section. So let's say I want to put my camera back. I can just touch camera, the green circle beside the word camera. And now it's back up at the top. You're going to ask me what a lot of these are, and I don't know what a lot of these are, but what I'm going to do is there's an email coming out after class. And in that email, there'll be links, and I'll put a link in there to a description of all of these controls. So you can read through and see what they do and decide if you want to use any of them. There's more than I've had time to figure out myself. These are the ones that I like. These are the ones that I use. But again, you can pick the ones that you want to use. And that document will explain what each one of them does. Questions on that one before we move on? Okay. If not,
Well, Wade, if you
Yeah.
accidentally remove something from the control center under your settings space, can you get it back?
it
And-
doesn't remove it from the control center. It takes it from this top section and moves it to the bottom section.
Okay.
So watch again. I'll take notes off the top section,
Mhm.
remove it. But now here it is right here in the bottom section.
Okay,
So you're just moving them up and down.
I see, I see.
If I want to put it back, I can touch the green circle, and now it's back on the top section. So you're just toggling them back and forth
Okay,
between the two sections. You're not deleting anything.
I see.
You're good.
Okay, thank you again.
Mhm. Okay, so we're going to talk about probably the most important part that we're going to talk about. This is apps, widgets, and the app library. Let's talk about apps first. So you've probably got lots of apps on your phone. Some came with it when you bought it. You've probably added more using the App Store. And again, we have another class telling you how to use the App Store if you're a little fuzzy about how that works or the best way to use it. My recommendation at least, is that you put the ones you use the most on the first screen, because this is the one that you see whenever you hit the home button or when you first turn your phone on. So you want the ones you use the most to be one touch away. For the ones that won't fit on that screen, you probably want to arrange them by some other way. We'll talk about that in more detail in a little while. But let me show you how you can move them around. So the way to move an app around is to just touch anywhere on the screen where there's not an app. So like, see where I'm pointing, I'm going to touch right there where that cursor is. Hold it for a second until the apps start to jiggle and there's a little minus sign. That didn't work for anybody, let me know. Just touch and hold it for a second until they start to jiggle. This is going to be everything else we're going to do. You need to be able to get them jiggling. Everybody there with me?
Yes.
Okay, so in order to move an app, all I have to do now is just touch it, and like mine just did, if you don't do anything for about a minute, it stops all by itself. But I'm going to grab this app here, and let's say I want to move it down here and put it in this on this other page. I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. You can move it from page to page. Move it to the other page. I'm just going to take it and push it off the edge of the page. So if you watch, I'm just going to take that app, slide it off the edge of the page, and it goes from page to page. I can put it back on the page where it was. I can put it over here between those two. So if I wanted to put it on the home page, I'd have to take something off of here to make space for it. But you can do that. You can take, I can take this one and move it off of there, and then grab this one and move it over 2 screens and put it on that page and put it down the bottom. So that's the way you can move things around from page to page. Even if the page is full, just make a spot for it. When you're done, just touch the screen anywhere or hit your home screen and it stops jiggling. One thing I forgot to show you, if I want to change the dock, I'm going to get them jiggling again. So let's say I want to take this out of my dock and put my files down there instead. Works just like anything else. You just make a space for it, move it down. If you change your mind, you can put it back like it was. Questions on that? I'll show you one thing you might do by accident, which may freak you out, so it doesn't. Sometimes if you're moving things around and you put it on top of something for a second, it does this. It creates a folder. You see now I've got 2 apps inside this little folder. So if you do that, don't freak out. Just touch it. And then you can take it and drag it out. Pick one and drag it out. And then the other one comes out automatically. I'm going to move this one back over on the page with its neighbors. And now they're back out again. So you can pull things out of a folder if you put it in a folder accidentally. Everybody good? All right, so that's moving and rearranging apps. Next thing we want to talk about is widgets. And here's a widget. This is a widget. This is the Weather Channel widget. You can, a little hard to read right there, but it says the Weather Channel. This is the Weather Channel app. So widgets are part of an app. You have to have the app to get the widget. But what a widget does, it shows you what's in the app without you having to open the app. So in this case, if I want to see what's going on with the weather and I'm over here on my home screen, I just flip over one screen. Here's my widget, and I can see what the current conditions are, 63 with variable clouds. I can see the high for the day and the low for tonight. I can see the temperature for the next 3 hours. I can see the temperature for the next 3 days, and I can see the radar. Without this widget to get that same information that I could get with one glance, I'd have to touch the Weather Channel app down here. It always loads really slow. And there I've got today. Then I got to go get the hourly that I had and get the daily that I had. And then I got to come down here and touch the radar to get the radar. So 5 or 6 touches and quite a bit longer time than just looking at the widget. I'll show you a couple more to convince you that widgets are something you want. Let me show you a different one. You also notice they're different sizes. This is a really big one. This is a small one. This is my Reminders app. It goes with the reminder widget. It goes with the Reminders app. But instead of having to open the app to see if I have any reminders, I can see them right here without ever touching anything. Now, if I want to open the entire app, because maybe I've got 3 reminders and I can't see the third one because this only shows me the top 2, I just touch it. Now, it does tell me right here that there are only 2, so I do know I've only got 2, but let's say this said 3, and I wanted to see the third one. I would just touch it like an app. It opens like an app, and I'd see all 3 of them. So you can open a widget just like opening the app. It takes you to the same place, basically. Touch home when you're done, and it goes back. Show you one more, and then I'll show you how to get them. So here's a calendar. So this is my calendar, my Google Calendar. It shows me the next 2 things on my calendar without having to open the calendar. Normally, I would have to go up here to my Google Calendar, open the calendar to see if I've got anything on my calendar coming up. With the widget, I don't have to do that. Everybody kind of get the reason why these are good things to have? Okay, so let me show you how to get a widget. So we're going to do the same motion we did before. We're going to press it for a second until it jiggles and has the minus sign. And I'm going to move over one to make this easier, more consistent with what you're probably seeing. Above the top row of apps, there's a plus sign. Depending on which phone you have, it may be in the upper right, it may be in the upper left, but it'll be up in this upper part. Just touch that plus. And that brings up your widgets screen. Now again, widgets come with apps, so I'll have some widgets that you won't have because I've got some apps that you don't have. You probably have some apps that I don't have, so everyone doesn't have the same list here. And every app doesn't have a widget. Some do, some don't. This is fairly new, so a lot of these vendors are still writing widgets, so every few weeks, a few more pop up. But these are the ones that are available right now. So I can just scroll through here and look for whatever app I want to install, whatever widget I want to install, excuse me. Let's say I want to install the battery. We've talked about batteries a couple of times. So I'm going to touch that widget. It takes me to this screen, and this is a screen where I pick what size widget I want. I showed you that there's small, medium, and large, basically. This is where I can pick, do I want small, do I want medium, or do I want large? I'm going to pick the medium size and just say add widget. And that's now put that widget on my phone. And so I can see I'm at 83%. I look at this one and it says, I don't know if that really tells me a whole lot that I can't see up here. That also tells me I've got 83%. So maybe I say, this isn't such a great app after all, a great widget after all. Let me show you how to take one off if you decide you don't want it. Very simple. Just touch it for a second until the uh, menu comes up here and click Remove Widget. It confirms that you really want to do this, and it reminds you that removing this widget doesn't delete any apps or data. So I'm not deleting the batteries app. I'm just deleting the batteries widget. So I say, okay, yep, go ahead and remove it. And it's gone. Questions, everybody? It's making sense.
Wade, could you explain to me again? I'm looking, I've got an SE phone, maybe it's different than the other ones, but I can't get that plus sign or that X sign to do the widget part.
Okay, so you're getting the jiggling and the minus sign. You don't see the plus sign?
Well, so I'm on the main screen right now. So would I have to go like to camera? I mean, go to like, let's say weather to get the sign?
Nope, nope, nope.
It's
So
not on the
just
plus screen either. I mean, it's not on the main screen either.
doesn't matter, any screen. Just
Okay.
touch on an empty spot and get them jiggling. Can you
Okay,
Can
I've
you get
done
them?
that.
Okay, it's up in the top. It's in the top row. It may be on the left, it may be on the right.
Okay, I found it.
There it is.
So
And
then if
just-
I want to change the weather, get something from the weather, I would click on the weather one now that's still jiggling. Is that what you said?
No, so now then you would scroll through the list. When you touch the plus,
Where do I find,
you touch the plus, and then it should look like this.
oh, okay,
And then just scroll through, and these are all the different widgets. Now again, if you don't have the Weather Channel app, you won't have the Weather Channel widget. So you may not have that one that I've got if you
so
don't
like
have that app.
I've got the one that says photos for you, so that would have widgets in it then?
Yep, so anything on this screen is a widget. These are all the widgets that are available on your phone. So you can just touch on any one of those and it'll put it on your screen. Let
Okay,
me put
then,
another one on my screen and just watch here. I'm going to put Insight Timer down there. So I'm going to touch it. It takes me to this next screen where I pick the size, small, medium, or large. Obviously, the large one shows you more, but it takes up more space. I'm going to pick the little one and just tap Add Widget at the bottom. And there it is.
okay, so then if I'm in the weather one and I want to change that, it tells me it gives me two different places. California and yeah, California. Maybe this is now where I learned how, but how do I change it to, for instance, Minneapolis, which is my closest
have
big city?
Yeah, you have to do that in the app. And that
Okay.
depends on which weather app it is. So the widget is just showing you what's in the app for
Okay.
the most part.
Okay,
Now, sometimes you can edit the widget. So like, let me just touch that one until the little menu comes up. And yeah, this one doesn't give me any options to edit it. So
okay,
you're probably
Hello.
going to need to open the app, get it showing where you want to show it, and then the widget will reflect what's in the app.
okay.
I
I'll keep
I have a
playing with that.
question.
Yeah, so play with it.
Thank you.
Um, I've always had a difficult time on my phone with the weather app. I mean, when I click on it, it tells me the weather for Ann Arbor, but in the widget, it just keeps saying that there's no data. So is there something else I need to adjust for that?
Which weather app are you using?
The one that came on the iPhone.
The app. Let me see if I can find that one. And
Just the one that came on the iPhone.
see,
At
I
the
use
bottom,
the other one, so
It's
I
at the
haven't.
bottom, it says, there it is. It says the Weather Channel, but doesn't actually show me anything.
So there's mine.
I know,
And
but
it's
when
St.
I
James is where
click
I
on
am.
that, it just keeps saying there's no data.
Yeah, I'm not
Now
sure what's
on my
going
home
on.
screen, when I click it, I get Ann Arbor, but through this widget, it keeps saying no weather data.
Yeah, not sure what's going on there. Something's not working right, but
Okay,
yeah, without being able to see your phone in the screen, you know, can't really debug that one. So
all right,
sorry.
I'll check it out. Thank you.
Yep, yeah. Maybe download the Weather Channel app. That's a better one anyway, from my totally unbiased perspective. Yeah. Okay, well, let me use this though to do the next thing I was going to talk about. Uh, Hopefully, I've convinced you that widgets are a good thing to have, but one of the problems is you can tell they take up a lot of space.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you can stack widgets. So if you look at my screen where I'm pointing, I'm going to put my finger on there and swipe, and I can go from widget to widget to widget. So I can have multiple widgets. It's kind of like a folder, or maybe more like a deck of cards, where you've got them stacked on top of each other, and you can just flip through to get to the one you want to get to. Let me show you how to stack widgets. So I'm going to touch it until it's wiggling again. All I have to do is take this one that I just downloaded, and I'm going to put it over the top of the other one and drop it. And now that weather one is in here with these others. That's stacking widgets. That way they don't take up as much space. You would probably want to stack things that make sense together. News apps together and games together, but whatever makes sense to you. So it's kind of obvious to you what's inside there, but you can put them all in one stack if you want to. It's kind of up to you. We're going to move on to the app library because I do have a hard stop at 5 o'clock at top of the hour. And this is the other really important thing to go over. When you're going through your screens, I'm going to start at my main home screen and just start flipping through my screens. According to my dots, I'm at the last screen, but there's actually one more. So I'm going to swipe over once more, and that's the app library. Every app you have on your phone lives in this app library. And there's 4 ways to get to the apps in your app library. I'll show you all 4. You can pick the one you like the best. I have a favorite, but I'll show you all 4 of them. First off, it just shows you all the apps in folders. Like these are my social media apps, things like Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. Here's my games. So the games that I use are in a games folder. Information and reading, that's where your news and weather channels are. So that's one way to find them. So if you want to just find the right folder, and then if the app you want has a large icon, I can just touch it and launch it. So if I want to go to Facebook, I just touch that. It takes me into Facebook. If I want one of these others, I have to touch that little group of 4, and it just opens the whole folder. Then I can pick anything in that folder. When I'm done, I can just touch and it collapses it back into the main folders. So that's one way to find your apps is by folder. The next way is if I touch the search bar up here, you'll notice it switches to an alphabetical list. Now I can just scroll through alphabetically and find the app I want. And it does have the alphabet over here. So if I'm looking for WhatsApp, it's going to be a long scroll, but I can touch the W over here or something close. And it's right there, WhatsApp. So that's an easy way to move up and down without having to scroll all the way through. Depending on how many apps you have, it could take a while. I have lots and lots and lots of apps, so it'll take me a while to scroll. That's another way. The third way is I'm going back to the search, but this time I'm really going to search. So I can just touch the search bar and start typing WhatsApp, WH, and there it is. So typically 2 letters is enough to find any app on your phone. So that'll save you either scrolling up and down through the alphabetical list or looking through folders. Everybody good with me so far?
Mhm.
Let me show you what I think is the best option, which is kind of a combination. I'm going to go back to my home screen. From your home screen or any other screen on your any one of the other home screens, if you put your finger on the screen anywhere, I'm going to put my finger right here and just scroll down lightly. You can see it's pulling down a search window, and it also pulls down something called Siri suggestions. These are the apps that I use the most, and so they were going to be in here. So most of the time, if what I want isn't on my home screen, because I've already put the ones I use the most on here, if I pull down, it's probably going to be in this list. But if it's not in this list, maybe I'm looking for Microsoft Word, I can just type in the search up here, WO, and here's Microsoft Word. Here's Wordscapes. So it, again, it pulls up anything that starts with WO, but that's usually enough to get me to what I want. And I can just touch Word and it launches Microsoft Word. So to me, this is the fastest because I never have to leave my home screen to use an app. If it's not on the screen, I just pull down and then either it's one click away or 2 clicks away, 3 clicks. 2 letters and a touch. Which means I don't really even need all these other apps on my phone. And you can probably tell I've been taking them off. In fact, the ones that I have left are ones that I teach classes for, so I want to leave them on there to teach a class. But I can take an app off this screen without taking it out of the app library. So let me, for instance, let's say I decide I don't want to have Google Keep out here anymore. So I'm going to touch this app. Hold it for a second for the menu to open up. And I'm going to say remove app. I've got 2 options. I can literally delete the app. I don't want to delete the app. I want to keep the app. I just want to remove it from my home screen. If I touch that, it's now gone from my home screen. It's not gone. I can still get to it. Type KE for keep. There's Google Keep. I can launch it. So it's still on my phone. It's just not taking up space on my home screen, which means I've got more space on my home screens for widgets. Just kind of completing the circle there. That's how I get room for more widgets, is by taking apps off. But it's also just faster to me to do that instead of flipping around through home screens looking for an app. Questions about that? Or about anything else? We got a minute or 2 left for questions, if anybody has any questions. Okay.
Wait, I have one. You know, I made a widget, I guess, for my reminders, but it's so large on a home screen page. How do I get it off my home? I mean, it's like 4 times the size of those. It's that size that's on your screen. How do I remove that?
To get rid of any widget, you just touch it for a second until the
Oh,
menu
okay.
pops up and then say remove it. And then you can reinstall it with a smaller screen, a smaller widget. You get to pick the size.
Oh, okay. I remember when you did that. Okay.
Yeah, so those little dots at the bottom show you the different sizes. So if you install one and it's too small or too big, just take it off and try a different size.
Well,
Any other questions?
if there's no other questions, I went to that, but it didn't come up on my screen, those 3 bars, that one of them
Which
said,
app are you trying to do?
well, it's the reminders square. I don't know if you can see that on my phone.
I can't see it, but oh, that was the same one as I've got, the
Right.
reminder.
That's right.
Okay, let me, I'm gonna have to take it. Let me take it off of mine. Oh, the other way you can take it off too, if it's jiggling like this, that's what the minus sign means.
Uh-huh.
is delete it, so I can touch there and remove it. So if they're already jiggling, that's a quick way to get rid of it.
Okay, I just did that. Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're okay, and then I can find that one now. It was the notes, or did it say reminders?
It said reminders, yes.
Let's see if I can find it. Oh, there it is, reminders, right there.
Okay, now
So
how?
here, there's the three sizes. You've got
I see.
small, and then scroll over to medium, and then scroll over to large. So you scroll back and forth to get the one you want showing on the screen, and then click Add Widget.
Is the smallest size the same size as the icons that are on the homepage?
No, it's bigger. I'll install the little one again. That's the little one.
Oh, okay.
So here's the, this is the medium size,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the large size.
Okay.
All right, so we
I have
do
a
need to,
question.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Wait, do the widgets change all the time?
They, if you got them stacked, you mean?
No, like I did the widgets, but I have a picture of my grandson. I have a photo. How did that get there under widgets?
There are
It-
photo widgets. You must have installed the photo widget. And if you
Oh.
put the photo widget, most of them will kind of flip through. It'll give you a different picture every day. So it kind
Oh,
of
okay.
flips through your photos. So that's probably what's happening.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Like I said. All right, so we do need to go to closing. We're 3 minutes from the top of the hour, and I do need to I have a hard stop, and I know some of you are also probably trying to get to another class. So let me quickly go through the closing, because I know there's a few people in here that are new to this process. So briefly, I just want to say that GetSetup's mission is to create economic opportunity for seniors and help seniors learn tools and skills needed to stay connected and live healthy lives. And we work primarily with other organizations that work with seniors. That's probably how you found us, through one of those organizations' newsletter or websites. I mentioned you can get a recording of this session. To do that, you send an email to help@getsetup.io. If you're new and you don't have that written down, write that down on a piece of paper and then put it in your email contacts, help@getsetup.io. Include the class name and the date attended. They only send them out to people that did attend the class. They'll then send you an email with a link to the recording, so you can go back if you missed something or want to see the whole thing again. You can just rewatch the session. It includes all the audio and video. There'll also be an email coming out after class. I've mentioned this a time or two as well. There's several sections to that email. There'll be a way to recommend the class to a friend. If you know somebody you think would enjoy the class, you can send them an email or Facebook link to the next time the class is offered. There's a class notes section, which has some key takeaways, but this also has email or links to websites. This is where I mentioned there'll be a link in there to those control center tools, explaining what each one of those is in case you want to figure out which ones you want to put on your control center. There's some other links in there as well. There's a link talking more about widgets and how they work, and the app library and how it works. So again, some things you can get some, review those links to get information about what we talked about as well. There'll be links to 3 other classes. If you want to take one of those classes, just click the link. It will take you to our registration page. There's also a give feedback link. If you click that, it takes you to our feedback page where you can rate the session 1 to 5 and the guide 1 to 5, as well as giving us any other general feedback you want to give us. And the last thing, there's a view schedule that will just take you back to our website where you can sign up for more classes. You can search by schedule, date and time. You can search by classes just by scrolling through the classes, by category, or just looking through everything. Typically, it's better to use the categories. So if you're looking for financial planning classes, click there. It'll just show you the financial planning classes. If you know what you're looking for, the best way to find it is to search by keyword. So you can do a search. And if you're looking for other iPhone classes, I mentioned there's an iPhone advanced class. just put in iPhone. It'll show you all the iPhone classes we have. We've got quite a few. If you want to take that iPhone advanced class, just click here. It'll take you to the registration page where you can register for that class. So I wanted to thank you all for attending the class. Hope you learned some new things about your iPhone, and hope I see you again in another class really soon. Thanks for coming and have a great evening.
Thanks,
Thank
Wade.
you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.